And now this is the awkward silence where if I was to edit this, I'll probably be smart and take this bit out. But anyway, hello, welcome to Unboxd. This is a show where we bring a member of the community in to discuss their love of movies, their ratings on Letterboxd, and all that jazz. This week, I've brought in, I guess, my boss, even though you don't pay me.
I'm not your boss. I have no authority around here.
Fair. One half of the Warzone, Full Metal Team champions, head creation writer for Warzone, all around Ron Howard impersonator, Brian Michaels. I get paid by Kathy to make that joke.
I think she does because she's got everybody making it now. So
it's fun. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. Like I was telling you before, this is like my favorite show that you have on your channel now because it's just nice casual conversation. There's no competition. You get to know people in the community, but you also kind of get to know. I mean, since we're all movie lovers, you get to know like why they love movies and how they rate them the way they do. And just happy to come on.
Cheers. I'm glad to have you. It's like because we did Kirk pre-recorded this before, and it's like it's you and Kirk, and then compared to like the first two, Spence and Boatman, it's like two completely different stories and two very different personalities as well. Because you're in that chat just going like, I'm going to disagree with every single thing Kirk says here. It's remarkable.
Kirk and I know that we have completely opposite tastes. It's an ongoing thing. So
I guess I should start. Like, how did you start getting into movies? Like, when was that the thing that became part of you?
I don't know. When I was young, I remember, first seeing movies like, Star Wars and the Indiana Jones movies, things like that. And I saw movies now and then, but it wasn't until I'd say like late teens when I was really getting into movies. I think part of that was because my brother and sister both went off to college. And so I was kind of home alone. I had some friends I did things with occasionally, but it was mostly just a lot of free time on my hands. So I started going to the video store a lot. Okay. And I would rent tons and tons of videos. I got to know the people there on a first name basis and because they were practically daily, and I just watched tons of stuff there. And then I started getting in, go see more movies in theaters. And then I got a job working at a video store. Suncoast Motion Picture Company was. They were in a rental store. They sold stuff. They also sold movie merchandise and all those kind of things.
Wow.
And working there, I think I started working there when I was 17. And so working there, I was basically spending all of my time just basically talking about movies with people, coworkers and employees, and you can learn different things and talk about your tastes and recommend movies and get recommendations. And it was just a great job to have.
Awesome. That's certainly a good place for a budding film fan to be. So I always love the video store stuff. Like, what was the film that was like the one where you should have just bought it the amount of times that you rented it?
When I first started getting into it, back then they didn't really bring films out for sale very often. The biggest ones might have come out for sale, but for the most part they didn't. So I owned at first I owned I think 4 video cassettes, and it was Raiders of the Lost Ark, Die Hard, Back to the Future, and for some reason Crocodile Dundee. I don't know why it was that one. But so I did that for the longest time. But I would rent videos, and I was getting into a lot of horror movies and things like that. But then once they started bringing more movies out for sale, that's like when the Suncoast store opened up, and because the big stores like Best Buy and Walmart and those, they didn't really sell movies yet at that point. That's when I kind of started buying tons of stuff, and I got to the point where I would buy things instead of renting them because I knew I'd watch them 100 times.
Oh, cool. It's always. Especially, I think, because younger people that were going as kids, just I read Snow White 400 times. just steal it at that point.
Yeah, as a parent, I know how that goes. But luckily now we can just buy them and let them watch them.
Oh yeah. Oh god, I'm so grateful I don't have children this day of age, especially with Disney Plus, because he'll just be like, "Do you want a better snowman?" in the background all the time. I think if I ever have children, I'm just going Amish.
Yeah, headphones are your best friend. Just saying.
Oh, good. Coffee. So, so you had that job, so you were doing that. So, were you going to cinema often? Was it the bigger releases that you were doing, or were you going more art house?
I really was. I started going to the movies a lot more. Like I said, kind of in late high school, which is probably 88, 89. Because yes, I'm old. So it's 1988, by the way, not 1888.
That's what it's spelling.
But really, and then through my job, I kind of became friends with some people that worked at the theater, and so I would go there like all the time, and especially once I started having to not pay for a lot of my movies.
That helps.
Because I got to know the manager there, because the manager used to come into my store all the time. And so he'd come in and talk to me, and he'd invite me to come over there, and we'd actually watch the movies early, because they get them in on like Wednesday night, and they have to like assemble the prints and check them before they play on Friday. So we go on like Wednesday night at midnight after work, and we just assemble the prints and watch the movies. And actually, he used to have me go up in the booth and put them together for him, which I'm sure he would get fired for. But but I used to basically do the work while he finished up his paperwork, and then we watch them. So I started watching pretty much everything that came out. And by the time we got into the mid 90s, I was seeing almost everything that comes out.
So the midnight's the like peak of cinema, so you were able to go see some amazing films like Space Jam.
Well, I went to see some amazing films. I know Space Jam is one of them.
Going back to look at the 90s, especially, they're just like, there's a few massive winners. There's a lot of shit.
Well, I think every decade has a lot of winners and shit. It's like people like to look back at like, oh, the 70s were this great time for film. It's like, yes, if you're looking back and only remembering all the best films. Yeah, but if you actually went back and looked at everything that came out, all the forgettable shit that came out, every decade has its good and its bad. Yeah. It's just a matter of what you choose to remember.
Yeah, but I think the 80s might have the other decades beat, apart from maybe this decade, but I don't know.
Well, yeah, the 80s, it was definitely the 80s were packed with great movies, but there was a lot of crap in the 80s. Trust me, I know.
Right. All right. I'm going to be confused. Decide and just go, fuck you. I know you like, but fuck you. So how did you find out this community, like the fan leagues and all that jazz and Schmodown?
It was actually, I was just, I don't know how I first stumbled across the Schmodown. I honestly don't. At some point I must have just stumbled across it on YouTube and started watching it. And I was watching that, and I used to, watch the videos and comment along with them, things like that. And one time I think I was just mentioning, people were talking about how they did, in the match and what score they had at the end of the match or something. And it was Jessica Morgan who actually said, well, hey, have you ever thought about joining the fan leagues? And I'm like, there's fan leagues? I had no idea. And so she kind of invited me over, and I joined, I joined all the Full Metal and Multiplex and some other ones, which you won't talk about. But it was actually Full Metal where I actually got my first match. And like a lot of people who join these leagues, I think the first matches were few and far between, because it's like, you're brand new, you don't have your name out there. And then, but once you finally start getting some wins and getting more known and getting involved, you get a lot more matches and stuff. And so now, next thing I knew, they wanted people for the writing staff for Warzone, and then they wanted somebody to help show run it, and here I am.
But that you just accidentally stumbled into everything, just like, oh yeah, now I secretly run it all. Muhaha.
Yes, now I have Lord of Oral.
But in regards to yourself, like, because whenever we discuss stuff in behind the scenes, like, you're always the more, I'm just for the game aspect of it. Like, you're like the Schmodown, the characters, stuff like that is very much like you would have nothing to do with. So
I mean, I don't fault anybody else for liking those kind of things. I know there are people who are really into that, because like I know this kind of grows out of the whole wrestling community aspect of it. And even when I watch wrestling, I watched it because I wanted to see the matches. I mean, I knew they were fake, but I still watched the matches. I didn't care about the behind the scenes interviews and storylines and things like that. And I was the same way here, in that I don't fault anybody for liking it. If they want to do characters and factions and storylines, that's fine. Just I'm the kind of person that will just, skip 10 minutes in the video of Schmodown to skip that stuff and go straight to the match.
But now we force you to edit them, so you have to sit for
now I have to watch it, yeah.
I'm still one of these days, I'm just waiting for someone to just like go full blown, like 5-minute monologues, like Shakespearean, just to watch your facial reaction as you have to sit there, just like, I hate everyone involved in this.
Well, if they make me hate them enough, then I'll just edit it in such a way to make them look bad. So just ask Caleb Boatman. Yeah.
Porn is fine. Big Caleb Boatman 2019.
As long as he's not talking about Air Bud.
Yeah. That literally is my favorite moment I know I keep saying this, but just because it's just both of them do it mistakenly, and then they just realize that pen drop from Scully is going to be my most used thing for 2020.
It was just such a genuine moment. It wasn't. I don't think it was like intentional.
I know.
Pen drop. It's just you saw his face like, oh, I'm like, oh, that's going to be a gif.
Yeah. And I just wanted that, and that's the moment he realized he fucked up. But in regards to team, like, obviously I mentioned about your team champion with Joseph Olivas and My Stallions. Like, I guess because me and Jacoby are so tied at the hip, and like we're pretty much like you think of one, think of the other. Like the complete opposite is you guys almost. Like I don't think I've ever seen you two do anything together outside of matches. Like, how does
Really?
that
No.
relationship
Well,
come
it's
about?
Andy Robinson. Basically, I was competing just in singles, and one day Sandy Robinson says, "Hey, I got somebody looking for a teammate, and I thought you'd make a good partner for him." And I was like, "Okay, cool. I'd like another opportunity to play." So in teams, and I didn't even know Joseph. I think I seen him I might have even faced him. I don't remember, in a Full Metal. I'm not sure if it was before that, Full Metal Classic. And but I knew nothing about him. I actually had to look him up and find out who he was. I'm sure he felt the same way about me. But I thought, yeah, sure, let's give it a shot. I want to play, and I think he's good, so we'll do it. And then it just turned out to be a perfect. I almost said marriage. That'd be weird. A perfect pairing, because all of my weaknesses are kind of his strengths, and vice versa. So it just worked out real well, and apparently it's paid off.
Yeah, it's done right for you guys. Like, just one of those things where I just want to see you two just like have a conversation about anything other than movies. It was just the most interesting thing.
I think it would just be a lot of awkward silence.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about the silence, because Joseph, once he starts talking, it's hard to stop him. But
I've noticed.
no, I love the guy. He just he can talk. But yeah, I don't know if we have a lot else in common, but that's okay, because I'd say most of the people in this community, we share a love of movies, and that's kind of it. But I don't know if I would have a lot in common with a lot of people here.
Yeah, I'm probably the same here actually. But I'm actually just thinking of it. I think the match that you made of you versus all of us was a classics match, because I know that one because I think it was my debut one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because there was a period where it's like I only got games like once every 4 months, and it was always against you, and you always destroyed me.
I'm sorry.
But it's fine. I just remember that. It was just like, it was so far back. I didn't even change my Facebook name, so I was going by Anthony, and it was just like, okay, this is weird to watch again.
Yeah, Joseph is one of those people who, like, if we face each other one-on-one in a match, which I'd love to do it sometime. I don't know when or how, but I think that it would depend entirely on the questions asked. I've talked to Caleb Bowman about this the same way. Actually, Caleb, I think, is very similar to Joseph. I actually want to see those two face off.
Ooh, that would
but I think me versus Caleb as well, it's going to depend on the questions, because our strengths are so different, and that there's not a whole lot of, there's some overlap, but I think that depending on what movies get asked about, or which ones you spin or choose in randomly in the third round, things like that, would basically determine who wins, because our knowledge is just different areas.
Yeah, I think that match will never be booked in Warzone, just because you know who will be writing them.
Yeah, that is a worry, because yes, I'm one of the older people in this community, so I think that depending on who writes the questions, like a lot of the younger people will tend to write about newer movies, whereas you get me or Jeremy or somebody like that, we tend to write about a lot of 80s and 90s, things like that. We all obviously all try to cover all decades, but the fact is that our knowledge is in certain areas, so it kind of affects what you write.
I'm curious about that. Like, it's a joke that you're one of the elder statements of the community. So, like, how do you feel about that? Just being like surrounded by all these younger people, just like, oh yeah, I remember actually seeing that movie like when it first came out. You young whippersnappers, like,
it doesn't bother me too much. People like joke about age and things like that, and I don't mind. I know I'm one of the oldest people in the community, but I just feel like I wish a community like this was around when I was younger, but the internet wasn't what it is now. So I think that when I stumbled across this, I'm like, well, hey, I can get in this community and just talk movies with people, and it tends to be a lot of younger people. I think a lot of that just has to do with free time and things like that. Yeah. But I work in the middle of the night, so I have plenty of free time during the day, and so I love just being able to interact with people, and I don't care the ages. I'm not going to be ageist and say I know more than somebody younger than me just because I'm older, like some people would say, which I won't go into. But I learn from them, they learn from me. I think I've gotten great recommendations from people in this community, and I love having different opinions that sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't, and that's fine.
Absolutely. All right. So I just want to get to this question that Ryan Pemberton had. So because whenever I speak to you, it's almost like there's always a thing where it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to the theater like tomorrow to watch blah blah blah. You're always going. So do you prefer watching them at home, or do you prefer like the actual theater experience?
I think ideally, I mean, I think every movie is ideally seen in a theater, but especially when it comes to the big blockbusters and things that need the big bombastic sound and the special effects and the great projection, the giant picture and things like that. I think those are definitely best seen in theater. But I think every movie can be appreciated more in a theater than watching on your phone or something like that. And that being said, I watch a ton of movies at home. I have a pretty good home theater setup. I got a projector and screen and
nice.
3D and all this kind of stuff. But and I watch plenty of stuff at home, and I do watch plenty of things on my phone and that too. I mean, especially if it's something I've seen before, or if I'm watching comedies or things like that don't necessarily need to be so visual, and so the sound isn't a big deal. I watch a couple movies a day on a regular basis for the most part, so I watch them pretty much anywhere I can, but ideally it would be in the theater.
Yeah. Like I just like the idea of just like having to watch like Interstellar on your phone, just like, oh yeah, this looks okay, I guess.
It wouldn't make it any worse or better.
Okay, yeah, I was
because Interstellar wasn't very good, but
it's trash. All right, but so moving on to
Nazario, bite me, Nazario.
I should say, oh yeah, his taste is oof. And that's the fun.
Oh wait, I'm not supposed to respond to the chat. Oh.
How dare you?
I'm cheating at Unboxd.
All right. Actually, that's the point as well. Jay Burns brought it up. And fucking Voodoo with 2,400 movies plus help. How many movies do you buy like in a week basis? Like,
well, the keyword there is buy. And see, there's I have a ton of movies in my Voodoo. A large chunk of them were never paid for, because you got free ones everywhere. I had people that would buy movies and didn't use the codes, so I was getting free codes from all my friends that didn't use digital at the time, which now regret giving them to me. I have there were people that will buy that and then sell off the codes for just like a couple bucks, and I would say, hey, it's better than buying a $20 DVD or Blu-ray. I can just get the $2 code. And Voodoo also had a thing where you could like convert movies. Like if you had the disc, you could like you could scan the barcode or whatever, and it would give you a digital one for like $2 or something like that. But the thing is, you didn't even actually have to own it. I mean, you could get them from the library, and it got to the point where I could just get the barcode from somebody else I knew who had it and scan it.
Nice.
So I mean, yeah, there's 2,400 movies in there, but I have not. It's not like I bought 2,400 movies.
I was about to say that would be a pretty penny and a half. Like the kids are just like eating cardboard, just like, yeah, but my DVD collection is perfect and pristine. Yeah,
and things like Black Friday around here is the best. I'm watching out for that coming this weekend, because they have Blu-rays for $4. You can buy the Blu-ray for $4, keep the code, sell the Blu-ray back off for $4 down the line to somebody who doesn't know any better, and basically get a free code.
Nice. So welcome to Economics 101 with Professor Brian Michaels.
How to game the system.
All right. So we should probably move on to the movies. So with Letterboxd, it offers you the position to do a top 4. So you kind of mentioned these earlier, actually, when you were discussing the ones we had on VHS. So the 4 are Raiders of the Lost Ark, Die Hard, Back to the Future, and Ghostbusters.
Yes.
So they are all off a certain time. So are these, like, I'm guessing this is more not like, oh, these are like the best, these are the greatest films of all time. These are cinematically like the greatest work of art, but these are more just like, these are my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. When I have conversations with people about movies, I think there's very different conversations of what you think are the best and what do you think are your favorites. And with Letterboxd, that's one thing is I tend to rate most things based on my personal enjoyment, based on my favorites. So, I mean, I might give something like Dumb and Dumber 5 stars. Do I think that that's as good a film as Schindler's List? No, but I enjoy it. I'm going to watch it. I'm rating it as a comedy. Yeah. I'm considering that when I'm rating it and how much I enjoy it. Schindler's List, also a great film. Never going to watch it again.
I was about to say, Schindler's List isn't a comedy? Oh, shit. I've got to question my life choices.
Maybe if you're a German, be comedy. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, as far as those 4, I mean, they are all 80s films. I mean, that really was kind of the time I was coming into loving film. But I also just think that they're four classics that I've loved all along. And with newer movies, there will be newer movies that I love and might rate 5 stars, although I tend to not give them that right away in most cases. But I think a lot of times in newer movies, I kind of want to make sure it stands the test of time before I call it one of my favorites.
Yeah, I was about to ask, is it like you have these on a pedestal, just like, and then every movie has to meet them because of like, oh, these are the movies that you've pretty much grown up with, like these are the ones that are your foundational ones?
It is kind of, yeah, because I mean, you don't want to compare movies so much like that, like say, oh, this one has to be better than this one, although when you make lists, that's exactly what you're doing. But I think that, again, each movie has to kind of be taken on its own and how you enjoy it. But these, I'm not going to lie and say that nostalgia doesn't play a part in like the selection of these four, for instance.
Yeah.
Because I mean, yes, they're the movies that you remember loving as a kid, and that maybe sparked your love of movies in the first place. I mean, one that's not on there obviously is Star Wars movies, because those, I mean, Star Wars and Indiana Jones, well, Star Wars and Raiders of the Lost Ark are basically the two movies that kind of started me really getting into movies.
Okay.
But so yeah, I mean, nostalgia is going to play a part in that. But I'd say newer movies I don't compare to them necessarily. Although when I am giving out like ratings and things, I do have to think, well, is this quite as good as that one? But I try not to do that.
Like, to be fair, you did choose three of the greatest films of all time, and then one there's the ultra shit.
Yeah, this is a short episode. Bye, all.
Bye. Bye. Oh, he's actually gone. Yeah. And just quickly, Andrew, I've tried that many times. They don't let me. You'll find it though on feature presentation. They'll just be like the unintentional comedy ones.
Yeah, there are no filters on featured presentation. You can do whatever you want.
I got Sean Sandberg now, helping write me. I think he can just shout at me, just like, "No, you're a fucking moron." He can take your job.
At least you can do it on camera. We can all enjoy it. Come on.
Okay, so moving on. So we're gonna start with your half-star films. So you've got 33 here, which is about the same as what I've noticed most people like. So how do you do this? Is it just films that are like burn these at all cost, or is there any particular reason you would give some half-star?
For the most part, if I give a movie a half a star, it's because there is no 0-star option. I mean, I could just not rate it, but I want to put a rating on it to show people, yes, I didn't just forget to rate this. This movie sucked. Right. So that's usually why I'll give a half star, is if it has pretty much no redeeming quality. I mean, sometimes you'll have something that's okay. I mean, you'll have like a Batman and Robin in there, which I like George Clooney. Batman and Robin was not his fault, but everything else about that movie sucked. And so it's got the lowest rating I can give, which is a half star.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into that. So that Batman and Robin is half stars. Like, not even Poison Ivy wins over for you. Moves up that half star.
Poison Ivy, I half star.
Huh. I was saying not even Poison Ivy.
Oh, you Poison. I thought you meant the movie Poison Ivy.
Oh God.
No, I think that Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy was actually one of the negative things about that movie.
Okay. I'm not making any jokes about that because fuck off, movie trivia face off. But one here that's interesting because obviously, like, I know nothing about horror, but I've always heard these two in high regard. Carrie. How come that one is?
I watched Carrie a long time ago. Barely remember it. I rewatched it. I want to say a couple years ago. I finally rewatched it, and it was just because I like you, I'd heard nothing but high regard, like the best horror movie of all time. And I'm watching this movie, and not only am I not liking it, I'm finding myself laughing at it like an unintentional comedy because the acting is so over the top and ridiculous, and just the dialogue and everything about it was if people like the movie, more power to them, but I did not enjoy that movie at all. And that's one of those cases where I think that expectations play into it. I mean, maybe I would have rated it, 1.5 or 2 stars or something, but because everyone loves this movie so much, and I'm like, I don't understand that at all. It almost makes me rate it even lower.
Yeah, that bit of contrarian, and you're just like, oh, everyone gives it such high praise. No, let's knock it down a little bit. Like, because you do have both the original and the 2002 version, so it's like, is there something about the story as well that just like doesn't sit with you, or is it just like both of these films that like were just like, why did you not cast someone better in it, dear God?
Well, the 2002 version is just a bad movie. I think even people who like the original will agree that one's a bad movie. It's not the story necessarily, because there's the one with Chloe Grace Moretz came out. I thought that one was decent. I think I gave that one like a decent 3 stars or something like that.
I was trying to find that one as we were speaking. It wasn't loading for me annoyingly.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what I gave it, but I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was. It just, but something about that older one just didn't work for me.
Fair enough. Okay, and then I'm gonna quote that you wrote in 2013, just about a film from 1980s. Let's play a letterbox game from MBE Live. Which movie am I talking about? I'm 20 minutes into this movie so far, and it's not only has it not solicited one laugh, it's already annoying the hell out of me. Actors cackling annoyingly after every sentence. It's not only unfunny, it's not even convincingly as being drunk. And then a little bit more. This one makes the new Russell Brand version look like an Oscar caliber film.
The new what version?
A Russell Brand version.
Oh, is that Arthur?
Arthur.
Arthur.
Especially over here, it's classed as one of like the greatest movies of all time because of Dudley Moore. Like, how come?
That's another one of those that I just heard such great things about, but I watched this movie, and it really was just obnoxious. And it's not like I don't like Dudley Moore; he's made movies that I enjoy. But I just watched this movie, and again, I don't understand why people love it so much. I mean, if they do, that's great for them. I'm glad they enjoy it. But it for me, it was just annoyed because he would say a line and laugh after, like he thought it was so funny, and it's like, no, it's not. But again, sometimes though, I mean, you're just in the wrong mood when you watch a movie. Maybe if I rewatch that today, I'd think differently. I've had several movies where I've watched and not really liked, and I go back and watch it and I give it a higher grade.
Yeah, that kind of sounds like me with Big Lebowski. But I went into that looking for like more slapstick comedy, then got in and was like, oh, this is shit. I do need to go back and watch it at some point. But it does sound like it's what people perceive. The perception of what people give it is important to you. Like if you go into it and like, and if someone says this is the greatest film of all time, you go in and go, oh no, it's not. That kind of does weigh up opinion. Like,
well, it's not like vindictive, like, oh no, you're wrong, so I'm going to give you an extra low score. It's more that they have raised my expectations. So whereas if I went in with no expectations and thought this of it, but when I'm expecting that much higher, it just feels like that much more of a disappointment.
Fair. To be fair, that's the exact same reason I've not watched Schindler's List and only got forced to watch The Godfather because of MB Live. Yeah,
The Godfather is, that's a whole genre. If you went diving into here, you'll find I don't dislike the Godfather movies, but I don't like them. But I freely admit when people talk to me about the Godfather movies and Goodfellas and all these Scarface and things like this, that genre has just never appealed to me. Yeah. And there's no reasoning behind it. It's just I just don't get into those mafia and gangster movies like Irishman's coming out. Everybody's all excited about. I'm sure I'll watch it, but I'm not excited about it. But people love the Godfather movies, things like that, and more power to them. Again, like I said, and I will respect it as a great, well-made movie. Just my personal enjoyment level of it, though, is just kind of.
It's just that genre, that style of genre is just not your cup of tea.
Right.
Fair. And then last 1.5 star is the 2000's Grinch Who Stole Christmas. We're getting to the Christmas period, so I'm guessing this won't be on for the kids.
Not if I can help it, although they do put it on, and that's when I just go in another room and watch a better movie. Because The Grinch is one of those movies where they take like a 20-minute story and try to drag it out over a full 90-minute plus movie, and it really does not have enough to sustain that. And the original, like the Grinch animated version, I think is great. I love that one. But this one, not only is it full of a lot of story you don't care about, but I mean, you got Jim Carrey just kind of doing his Jim Carrey thing, which it got old a long time ago, and even he knows that. I mean, he finally stopped doing that and started trying to do a lot of very different roles for him because his shtick got old. But I just thought it got old a little bit early before a lot of other people think so, because the Grinch I just found kind of annoying.
Have you seen the Benedict Cumberbatch one, Bo? Yeah,
I have not. That's one I'm torn on seeing because it might be good. Actually, what turned me off to that is they probably didn't have it over there. I think it was an AMC thing, but they had an AMC theaters before every movie for 2 months before that came out. They had these little Grinch interstitials between the previews and stuff that just they were obnoxious, and you're just like, oh, get off my screen and let me watch my movie.
But yeah, they tried something like that with Jurassic World. It's just Chris Pratt kept showing up after every trailer, just going, "Hey, we got dinosaurs coming soon." It's like, No, mate. I kind of understand you. You're in Jurassic Park movie. I'm expecting dinosaurs. Maybe just piss off.
Right. I mean, like that. I love Chris Pratt. Want to see Jurassic World, and I love trailers. I'm the kind of person that people like that. Oh, we want fewer trailers. I love watching movie trailers, especially in a theater. So I'm all for all the trailers you want to show me. But you start throwing these other things in there, just no, go away and let me watch my stuff.
It's the other person that shows up like literally as soon as the theater opens, so that you can get your seat and just be there for like all the ads and trailers.
Well, I have to admit that the internet has kind of changed that. 'Cause it used to be, when you see movies in the theater, that's where you saw your trailers. You never know what you're going to see. But now it's like with the internet, you see all the trailers online before you see them in the theater, and there's really no surprises. So I still like to go and watch trailers, but at the same time, now that they have reserved seating in the theaters, I'm the kind of person who's like, I can show up 10 minutes after showtime and get the seat I want, the seat I've already reserved, and not miss any of the movies. So.
Oh, you live in a good area, because I've tried that once where I am. I had like nearly getting a fight trying to ask someone to move out my seat.
Oh, I feel no better feeling than kicking someone out of my seat.
Oh, I feel the same. It's just very much just like this guy was like, "You what, mate? No, it's my seat now." Like, okay, it's your seat now.
See, I'm not that nice. I'm like, I'll say, "Oh, that's my seat," and most of the time they'll move. And if they don't, I'll be like, "Okay," and I'll go out and be like, "Hey, somebody's in my seat," because usually it means that they didn't buy a ticket and they're just theater hopping, which I admit I have been guilty of when I was in my younger years. But it's like, so they know if I have to bring somebody in, they're gonna get kicked out of the whole theater, so they better move.
Oh, that's a big difference, because there's no one over here. Literally, I've just done it before where I've just literally walked through, not even bothered to go to the ticket point, and just gone into the movie. Just for the hell of it. All right, so moving up to 1 stars now. So the half stars are literally like garbage fire. These would be 0 minus stars if I had the option. What about 1 stars? Are there any saving grace to them at all, or is it literally just like, you didn't shit on my carpet?
1 star is a pretty bad movie. I mean, 1 star is really an awful movie, but maybe it has like a couple redeeming qualities to it. I most recently I watched the documentary on The Shining. Well, it's not about The Shining, but the theories behind The Shining, that Room 237, which is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life, because it's just people like just making up stupid theories and finding things to support their theories, and it's just a bunch of nutcases. But I gave it a full star just because there were some glimpses of like behind the scenes footage and the making of The Shining, things like that. And so I got something out of it at least. And so I said, well, you know what? I'll give it an extra half a star just for that.
So it's literally just like, you at least tried. Here's the star for effort.
I don't know if you tried, but you managed to accidentally do something good.
Yeah. All right. Just quickly going back to something you said, Jay asked in the chat, what was your favorite trailer that you saw in theaters before a movie?
The trailers that I love are the ones that are true teasers. I mean, I remember ones coming out for things like Twister and Independence Day, and even I think they were first Jurassic Park and Lost World trailers, where it was like no actual footage from the movies at all, but it was just like, it was atmospheric. Maybe it showed you a flash of something, and it just kind of made you go, "Hey, what the hell is this coming?" Because a lot of times back then you didn't know. Like nowadays with the internet, every single movie that's being made and what's coming out and stuff. There's very few surprises anymore. But one odd one I remember liking was the original teaser trailer for the movie Strange Days, which is a Ralph Fiennes movie. But it was like him. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but he's like this smarmy like salesman kind of persona to him. And the trailer is like him pitching this thing to the audience. I just thought that was really well done, and just kind of made you think, "Hey, what is that movie? I want to go see that."
Oh, interesting. Oh yeah, looking at it now, it looks. I'm gonna have to find a copy of it somewhere.
I mean, it's on YouTube somewhere.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Catherine Bigelow as well. All right. So moving on. So the first one is only reason why is because I've actually just watched this film, so I can actually give an opinion. So this is from 1985. I'll read the review before I give it title. It took me 3 attempts to make it through this movie. I should have just stopped after the first. Dreadfully unfunny. I don't think I laughed once during the entire film. I'll stick with the far superior, infinitely. I teach children. Infinitely funny, Murdered by Death, which Clue desperately tried to copy with its awful results.
Yes.
So this one, like, they have the Activity by Friends thing, which is 21 people have watched this. There's yourself at 1 star, me at 2 stars, and then everyone else at 4 and 5 stars.
I don't understand that one because it's. I mean, I guess I get why some people enjoy it, but it's just when I've seen the exact same concept done so much better. Because most people I talk to have not seen Murder by Death, which is it's a Neil Simon play made into a movie, and it's got all the 70s mainstays. It's got Peter Falk and David Niven, and it's got Alec Guinness, and it's got Ellen Bernstein. Anyway, a whole big cast of people. But it's just I thought that was just done so much better, and the comedy was so much better, and the Clue is just like it's just kind of the bumbling slapstick version of the story, and I just it's one of those movies that I honestly don't really understand why people like it more, but I don't know.
Yeah, all I've ever heard that film was that it was like, oh, it's such an incredible storytelling because of the way that they do it, like the whodunit thing and all that. It was like, I got to it just like, really? They just shot 3 endings.
Well, I remember when it came out in theaters, when they had the whole gimmick of the different endings, and you go into the theater not knowing which ending you would see, which is dumb because then you might pay for it 3 times and see the same ending 3 times, so you don't know. But of course, when it came out like on video and stuff, they put all 3 endings on it. So I mean, that was kind of a whole gimmick thing to it, which maybe at the time that made people think better of it, but I don't understand nowadays why it makes people think better of it when it's like, oh, we're just going to put all 3 endings on the end of it. So
yeah, makes sense.
But if you like whodunits, though, I would recommend Knives Out. Just saw that last week. So.
I know I'm still jealous about that. It comes out like 3 more days. I'm just gonna do. I'm thinking Thursday. I'm just gonna let you spend the entire day in the theater and just go like do Frozen 2 before any children are around. Ford vs Ferrari, Knives Out, and probably try and eat at some point as well.
Well, that's what I used to do every Thanksgiving, and I think Christmas too. I used to go see a movie, and it was always like for the longest time I did it with my family because they're usually in town, but like my sister especially, we'd go see like the newest Disney movie, or a lot of times it'd be a musical or something like that. But we've kind of gotten away from that in recent years because everybody else is bringing their families along, so we're spending the time there at the house. Yeah. But I still usually try to find at least some time to go out and see other movies.
Oh, nice.
Escape the family.
It's like, you guys have dinner, I'll be fine, I'll go.
Well, it's like we have dinner and then everyone else is sitting around, and I know a lot of people like, oh, we're gonna watch football, and I'm like, I'll go watch a movie.
That's such an American thing, that having stuff on Christmas Day, like, because over here it's like everything's shut down. There's nothing. Even Boxing Day as well, the same. Like, you have a bit of football on Boxing Day, but that's it. It's like, but Christmas is like, oh yeah, like Christmas Day movie release. Like, no. I can walk down the middle of the motorway and not get run over. It's that quiet, which I've done.
Yeah, I always loved how people would, complain that, retail workers, they have to work on Thanksgiving because they're open, have to work Black Friday, and it's not fair to them because they want to spend Thanksgiving with their families. But nobody talks about all the people that are movie theaters that are there on every holiday because they have families they'd like to be with too. But they're like, oh, screw them, I want to go to a movie.
Yeah. I mean, how dare they have a job? Like,
right? It's like, you knew the job when you signed up for it. Come on. I worked retail for way too long. I know how it is, but I accepted it.
Yeah, I never gone back into retail. I nearly got killed off a ladder from a grandma during a Boxing Day sale. I was working in a fashion store and I was on ladders hooking things up. I just saw this little old woman just determinedly walk. Just like, I was ladder, her, which was like, I just saw it. I was trying to jump off before she did it. Just took the ladder straight off from under me. I fell backwards into this like rack of clothes. So I was there for like 2 minutes. And the worst thing about it, someone went over looking like they were going to help me, picked up a shirt, and then just dropped it back on me and walked off.
They thought you were a mannequin or something? Just
like this weird mannequin that fell from the sky. Like, it's surprise advertising, just try and give you a heart attack. But that shirt does look lovely when it's not covered in blood. All right, so get back to movies. There's one person that I noticed that you have a distaste for, which, like, and knowing you, like, kind of surprising because I thought he'll be right up your alley, which is Mel Brooks. Because you gave the producers half a star, but who can blame you? Blazing Saddles, you gave 1 star. Like, what about like? And I saw in one of your reviews. In fact, let me just pull it up. I can't pull it up. I can't remember what it was, but you say that it just doesn't do anything for you. Like, how?
I think it's just a matter of his style of comedy. I mean, there are movies of his that I've enjoyed. I like Young Frankenstein, and that's the main one that comes to mind. And there are parts of like Blazing Saddles and things that I like. But I just Mel Brooks' style of comedy, where it's a lot of puns and things like that. It feels like your grandpa telling you jokes that aren't very funny, and it's just that's kind of what I feel about his movies. Just seem like very obvious, very very just cheesy jokes.
Yeah.
And for some people that's their style of comedy. They like the lots of puns and things like that, and that's great. But just that style of comedy is not what usually does it for me.
Fair. Yeah, I think it's someone that does think puns are wonderful, that he just wrapped my boat. Hey, you don't have the ability to edit these jokes out, or Boatman does have the ability just to run past me. So I get to make all of them now. Yay!
You're on my turf now.
Oh, it's great. But the last one is, I just want to know, like, how badly did your children get treated after this movie? Alvin and Chipmunks Shipwrecked. Like, I'm guessing this was you got dragged along through them.
I don't know if I saw. I don't think I saw it in theaters. But basically, my kids, if they want to watch something, I think I did a pretty good job of steering them towards a lot of good movies as far as stuff we see in theaters. They like to see mostly good ones. I did take them to a few clunkers, like cartoons and stuff. But in this case, just a matter of between everything I have in Vudu and whatever shows up on Netflix or wherever else, they watch a lot of crap that I don't want to see. And usually I'll just leave the room if I don't like it. Shipwrecked, I think I must have stayed in the room for some reason. I think maybe they're young enough that I wanted to sit in there with them and watch it. But it just, I didn't enjoy it. But then again, I clearly know that I was not their target demographic. They were looking for 40-something old, men watching this movie. It was meant for the kids, and they laughed along with it, and good for them. But for me, it was, 1 star or whatever.
It was one of those cases like Clockwork Orange, just like eyes peeled back, forced watching.
Not quite that bad.
There's always a question I have for parents, like especially that have passions for film, like yourself, Jeremy, Kirk. Like, how do you go about trying to teach your children about film? Like, what was like the first films that you sat down and were like, okay, let's watch these, so to try and get you away from like the schlock?
Well, even among like the kids movies and cartoons and that, there's plenty of them that I love. So obviously I'd steer them more towards like the Disney classics. There's I'd steer them more towards the ones I like as opposed to the ones I didn't like so much. And even though they would watch some of the ones I didn't like so much, they would for the most part agree with me on those. But then I kind of steer them kind of the same way I got into movies. I mean, they start watching the Star Wars movies. They watch Indiana Jones movies. They watch I obviously try to keep things fairly age appropriate. I'm not one of these guys going to show my kids like horror movies, things like that, when they're too young. But at one point, like when Jurassic World was coming out, they saw the commercials for it and they're like, "Ooh, that looks fun." I'm like, "Well, if you guys think you want to watch Jurassic Park, I got 3 of them you can watch right now." And so we kind of watched them at home, and I kept an eye on them in case they were too scared, because I think they were like 5 and 8 at the time. But they loved it, and so they watched all 3 of those and went and saw the new ones. And so it's really just a matter of, I kind of try to suggest movies that I think they'll like, and I don't force them to watch things they don't want to watch, and I'm not going to tell them they can't watch bad movies they want to watch, but I do try to kind of steer them towards the ones that I think are worth their time.
I always just like the idea of just like a parent just putting their hand down. And this is a no Shrek policy house.
Well, there are movies that I mean, I don't know specifically what comes to mind, but I'm like, if you're going to watch that, like these conversations will come up every week. I'm like, if we're going to watch a movie and they pick this movie, I'm like, if you want to watch that, it's fine, but I'm not watching it with you. I'm gonna go online and talk to my friends online, and you can watch that. But if you want to watch a movie with me, let's pick something else.
Yeah, I'll just do what my parents did and just like, yeah, okay, you want to watch that? There's a garden out there. Hopefully, it's not raining too much.
Right.
All right. So moving up now to 1.5 stars. The thing that I've noticed going through quite a lot of them is that you've got some of the more heavy hitters, if that makes sense. Like, so what is 1.5 star? Like, this is like, I should say, name a few. Like, you got 2001: Space Odyssey, Black Swan, Fletch, for example. Like, What is about? Is there any particular, like, especially with 2001? Is there a particular reason why?
Well, 2001 is one of those that's just a victim of the fact that I am going to rate movies based on my personal enjoyment of it. If you wanted me to look at this as purely like the art of filmmaking and the cinematography and you know all that kind of thing, I would rate it very differently. But for the most part, my ratings on Letterboxd are based on my personal enjoyment of the movie, and I didn't get into that movie. I found it boring. I found it pretentious. And this actually goes for most of Kubrick's stuff, which will make some people lose their minds. But again, he's just not the director that speaks to me, and he speaks to others, and I'm glad he does. But when I watch his movies, I don't get that same feeling from them, and so I rate it based on how much I enjoy it.
So for you, it's like you can respect a piece of art, but it's not like you're sitting down to like you're not sitting down to like go for like through an art museum. It's like you're sitting down for the entertainment value more than anything.
Right. Yeah. When it comes to my Letterboxd ratings, it's really almost entirely based on how much I enjoy the movie. And that not to say that a drama can't get. I mean, I can enjoy a drama as a drama. I'm saying that how much I like the movie, how much, you know, if I think I'll revisit this movie, because like I said, I'll kind of judge each genre on its own thing. You know, I'm not going to judge a horror movie the same way I'm going to judge, you know, a Oscar caliber deep legal drama or something. But yeah, if I don't personally enjoy it that much, I'm going to give it a low rating, even if I think that it's a well-made movie.
Fair enough. Like, I just find those movies just like, oh yeah, cinematically beautiful, but you had to wake me up after 20 minutes.
Well, I mean, the perfect example of this is Roma. People loved Roma and raved about Roma, and I think Roma is a beautifully filmed movie. That has some of the best cinematography I've seen in the last decade. But my God, that movie bored me to tears. It seemed so pointless, and I'm just like, okay, this is not for me. You know, it's a beautifully made movie, but I'm not going to watch this again. So.
Yeah. All right. So moving on, there's one here that I'm interested in here. Stardust, 2007. You're not a fan of Robert De Niro pretending to be a cross-dressing space pirate?
You know, if I remember correctly, he's one of the reasons I rated it as low as I did.
Oh.
Because I thought it was not as funny as they seem to think it was with him playing that part. However, that is a movie I think I even have on my Letterboxd watch list as one that I want to revisit. Because, you know, I don't remember it very well, and a lot of people do enjoy it. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll give that one a second shot.
So how do you go about choosing a movie that you know you've already watched to rewatch? Is it because of like, oh, like someone says it's great, I should give it a different watch? Or is it just like, oh, enough time has passed, I probably should, I'll give that another go, why not?
It's usually something inspired. It's not usually just time has passed. It's maybe I've grown to appreciate a certain actor or actress, so I want to go back and be like, you know what, maybe I should revisit that one that they did. Or it could be, you know, somebody's raving about a film, and I'm like, you know what, I didn't like that, but you know, maybe I can go back and look at it again, and maybe in a different mood, or maybe I'm just in a different mindset, you know, as a viewer. So it's usually something like that has spurred me to think, you know, I should give that one another chance.
Also, Stardust does have the greatest soundtrack of all time because it has to take that on it. So, if any movie has a soundtrack from a 90s British boy band, just goes up an extra 3 stars in my eyes. There'll be one day when Darren Aronofsky does an E17 movie, and that just becomes the greatest one of all time.
Yes, Aronofsky. Yes.
Speaking of him, let me just quickly read out the review that you wrote for Black Swan, because I do love this. Fight Club for the ballet clown. You'll understand later scene in the films, so you subject yourself to it. But whereas Fight Club is one of the best movies of all time, Black Swan is just another overrated, overpraised, and disappointment of overrated, overpraised director.
Yeah, that about covers it.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Because Aronofsky is one of those directors who, again, he kind of has there's just that style to him where it's very artsy, which is some people's, you know, cup of tea. But for me, that kind of artsy, very pretentious style just doesn't speak to me. And I liked a lot of the people in the movie, Natalie Portman and Mila Kunis and Winona Ryder and that. But but this movie, I tried to watch it, and I wanted to like it, especially because I got like Oscar nominations and things, and I usually try to check out most of the major nominees. But I was just I just did not enjoy it. Well, there's certain scenes in that movie I enjoyed, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah, it's one of those directors where you either love him or you despise everything that he ever touches.
Yeah, I mean, and even despise is a strong word. I mean, I've seen this, I've seen The Wrestler, I think I've seen most of his movies, and I can find things in them that I like, which is why they aren't half-star movies. I'll give them, anywhere from 1 star to 2 stars, maybe even 3 stars in some of them. But that just because I like certain aspects or things in the movie, whether it be acting, performances, whatever, I still usually do not enjoy the whole movie.
Fair. All right, so I'm jumping up now. So we're going to skip 2 and 3 because it's pretty much all the same. Of just like, I liked him, wasn't great, wasn't terrible, it's okay, it's there.
Well, that's one thing I've talked about with a lot of people is that I think too many people tend to be like, oh, I liked this movie, it's 5 stars, or I hate this movie, it's half a star, and the truth is most movies lie somewhere in the middle. I mean, there's going to be the ones that I think are really great and the ones that I hate, but I'd say a good 75% of movies at least are in that middle range. Just kind of, they're not bad, they're not great, it's okay.
I always find it weird if anyone has like either that 1 star or 5 stars, like so dramatically more than the 2 and 3 star, because you're just like, yeah, you're just doing this for attention now, mate.
Well, the only reason that I could see that being valid on somebody is if they don't see a lot of movies, if they're very selective. Like, I see this movie knowing that I'm going to love this kind of movie, and I can understand then if their rating's going to be mostly very good. But me, as someone who tends to see almost everything, because I always go in hoping to like a movie.
Yeah.
So I'll try and see almost everything that comes out. There's going to be some I love and some I hate, but most of them are going to be just in the middle.
Right, that's actually a point. Do you ever go into a movie knowing that you're like 1,000% going to hate it? You're watching it just for like the hate porn value more than anything else. Like, do you go like a movie like Sex and the City 2? Have you gone down like just to force yourself to watch it just because it'll just give you so much hatred? It'll be like,
I don't think I go in knowing I'm going to hate a movie. I mean, I go in sometimes expecting, whether it be from things I've heard or just my personal tastes of people that are in it or what it's about or something. I go in maybe with low expectations, but I don't go in thinking, "Ooh, I can't wait to crush this movie and criticize it and stuff." It's like, because I would love to be pleasantly surprised. I would love to go into a movie and be like, "This is going to be stupid," and come up and, "Wait, I kind of enjoyed that."
Yeah.
But it doesn't usually happen. But I don't usually go into things trying to hate them.
Fair. You go in for the glass half full.
I don't even know if I'd say glass half full. Maybe glass quarter full. Kind of like, I don't have good expectations, but I hope it surprises me.
Yeah. All right, so moving up now. So the first one I want to ask about is mainly just because I saw it earlier today. It's now the highest rated film on Letterboxd of all time, beating The Godfather, and it doesn't come out here for another 4 months. And I just want to know whether or not it's worth my time. Parasite. You rate it as a 4 star, and every single person I've seen loves this film.
Well, and even the 4 star, I'm not sure is solid. That's one of those movies that I watched it and I gave it a 4 star, and it could very well creep up to 4.5 or even 5 stars upon rewatches. It is. I thought it was an excellent film. I've liked. I've in the past couple of years, I've been getting into a lot more foreign films, especially Asian films, and South Korea especially has been putting out a lot of great stuff. And I didn't really know anything about this movie except I'd heard like the director, and I'd heard it was supposed to be very good. And I actually had people tell me to not know too much about the movie going in, so I kind of avoided. I don't even think I watched a trailer or anything for it. But then I finally got a chance to go see it, and I really enjoyed the movie. I mean, I thought the performance was great. I thought the story was very interesting. The very ending was not quite 100% for me. Okay. So I don't know if I'll be able to get that 5 star, but it could very well creep up to 4.5.
Fair enough. All right. Well, speaking of that, then, like, how do you differentiate a 5 star to a 4 star? Like, what is it that makes it that extra step above?
Well, a 5 star for me, I think I heard Kirk talk about this on his as well. I think he called it the Mount Rushmore of movies. A 5 star for me that's the highest rating you give. That's got to be a pretty much perfect film. I mean, because I'm very stingy with my 5 stars, just, and I think more people should be, because I mean, if you say, "Oh, I really like this movie," it's 5 stars. Like, well, you're saying then that your favorite movie of all time is the same as this movie, because there's no wiggle room there. So I do tend to make kind of the 5 stars are what again, this is based on personal enjoyment. So there's gonna be 5-star movies that people are like, really? But
we'll get to that one.
We'll get to that, yeah. But a 5-star for me is just it perfectly does what it was supposed to do, what it wanted to do, and how much I enjoyed it based on that. And so a lot of times a movie comes out, I very rarely give out 5 stars right away. I mean, a lot of times I'll give 4 and a 4.5. And then over time, I'll be like, you know what, I still love it. You know, several years later, it wasn't just because I had just seen it, you know, recency bias kind of thing. So I'll give it that extra bump to 5 stars.
Fair enough. I always find it weird that anyone puts like a movie straight like from the cinema in a 5-star, just because like at least give it a minute to digest.
Right. Like I think I put Avengers Endgame at 5 stars. Because I was fairly confident it's going to stay there. I really liked that movie, and you can nitpick it, but I think as a whole movie, I really loved it and really enjoyed it, and I'm pretty confident that it's not going to fall in my eyes upon rewatches. So I gave that one 5 stars pretty much straight out. Actually, I'm not even sure the first viewing I might have not given it 5 stars, but I've seen it since then.
Yeah.
But it's rare that I do that right away.
All right. One 4-star here that that if I was to say like, oh, it's a movie Brian likes, this wouldn't be one. 17 Again with Zac Efron.
That was a surprisingly good movie.
I do love it as well, but we come from very two different schools of thought, because I'm a Friends fanatic and Zac Efron couldn't have me any day of the week.
Hey, I'm just saying, if I were gay, Zac Efron, but
call me.
But no, well, first of all, Zac Efron, I think, has proven himself to be a very good actor. I mean, people want to write him off for High School Musical, but I mean, I think since then he's done a lot of good stuff.
And Bad
I mean, that's like if you're judging Jodie Foster by her old Disney movies like Freaky Friday and things like that. I mean, people start off someplace. But this movie especially, I mean, I watched it, and that's one I went in with really, I wouldn't say low expectations, but no expectations, just because it looked like a Disney Channel movie. You know, I went in there and it was kind of, you know, just big in reverse basically, but I really enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed all the performances in the movie, and maybe it's, as like a middle-aged guy, it maybe it spoke to me personally on that level too. I don't know. I mean, about regrets and things I want to do differently, and how, you know, you learn to appreciate what you have now, kind of thing. And I mean, it's weird to talk about deep themes in a movie like that, but it you know, it just kind of spoke to me, and I just thought it was way better than I expected.
Yeah, certainly. It's one of those films where it's just like, I was like, when I watched it, was like, oh yeah, okay, that's pretty decent. And since he's just ransacked here, Kirk Kalikowski, just got to work on a question for you, Brian. Thanks to you, just so Full Metal players now have to watch or rewatch Empire Records. My question is, how do you live with yourself?
Oh, is this Kirk? I don't know.
Yeah, that's Kirk.
Well, because people have made me watch worse for Full Metal. Just saying. Well, no, when Full Metal this year decided that instead of going for, like, you know, the core movies that movie lovers should watch and know about, they decided to just let people nominate whatever they wanted. And so they wanted to let people nominate, you know, so a lot of people are basically playing the game where it's like, okay, this is a movie that I know really well that not everyone maybe will. And so I went with Empire Records because that is one that's definitely a product of where I was when it came out, because I was working in a retail store, and in my case, it was movies instead of music. But basically, I was living Empire Records where we worked, because my friends, we were all just exactly like that. I was the right age for it. It was kind of the right atmosphere, and I really enjoyed the movie, and I loved it. And we played it in the store constantly, so I had the whole thing memorized.
Oh, cool.
And so basically, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to nominate that one. And so now people like Kirk have to watch it, and I feel good about that.
Nice. Just to say your review on it. Yeah, I gave it the extra bump to 5 stars this time. What can I say? I just love this flick.
And that is, and that's a movie that's just the opposite of something like Schindler's List or something, where do I think it is one of the best made films of all time? Absolutely not. I mean, it's just a silly teen or 20-something comedy. But it clicks with me, and I enjoy everything about it. So
It sounds very much like a sick movie for you. It's that one that is like, if you're not feeling too well, you'll just put it on, just make yourself feel better, just like go back to an old time. And just
that's definitely one of them, because both because I enjoy the movie, but also because it does kind of bring you back in your mindset to that time in your life, and it does make you feel better. For me,
yeah, fair. And people like Kirk just get the dartboard out and just start throwing darts again at your face. All right. So another one that I want to mention is, just because I love this film so much, I always want more people to watch it. Attack the Block.
Attack the Block. Yeah, I gave it 4 stars.
4 stars.
4 stars. Yeah, Attack the Block is another movie that's one of those movies that I'm glad I got into. It wasn't from this community, but when I started kind of getting into online communities at the time, it was more just like an online forum, posting messages, things like that. But I got into with a lot of people who are huge movie fans, and so I was very thankful for that, because they brought to my attention a lot of movies that I might otherwise have never heard about, or at least not, thought to go see. Yeah. Attack the Block is one of those, because I'm sure it never played in theaters near me, but I think so. But I sought it out and I watched it and I really enjoyed it. I mean, you got John Boyega, and the first time I'd seen him, and Joe Cornish, who I know had worked with Edgar Wright before, and it was a fun movie, and it was kind of a good. And I like a lot of sci-fi comedies. You'll see in my list, because I like kind of when they blend different genres together, and that one was a good one.
Excellent. Yeah, it's the first movie that you'll see Doctor Who and one of the Star Wars cast members in it. And so you mentioned earlier about it being like you're getting in South Korean films, stuff like that, and like obviously we share the same language, but the culture is so different between British and American films. How often do you like going towards like films that aren't based in the States, like aren't like Hollywood products? Is that something that you try and do, or is like, are you like, there's enough coming out from Hollywood, I'm going to stick to that?
Well, that's one of the problems, just a matter of how much time you have, because I mean, there are so many movies that come out these days that I do have to kind of pick and choose what I can watch, and some of it's availability. Because I mean, I have a list of foreign films, both foreign language and also just not American, like from UK or something, that I want to see, but maybe I don't have available to me because they aren't on my video store, or my libraries here don't have them, or they're not available on the streaming services, and so I have to try and wait until I can find a way to track them down. But again, that comes down to, as far as what I seek out, is a lot of times I'm going based on what I'm hearing from recommendations from people in different movie communities and things like this, because otherwise I don't have awareness of a lot of this stuff. Like when I first started getting into Asian cinema, I watched several, and then I basically went and asked them, like, okay, if I'm just getting into this, give me a list of what I should check out. And a bunch of people gave me suggestions, and I've knocked out about half of them. I've still got more I want to see. So. Nice.
I tried that with anime, never again.
Yeah, anime doesn't work for me for the most part.
Yeah, like that's if you ever want to break up insert name here, just mention anime, because your name sucks.
Bye, Studio Ghibli.
Bye, Felicia. But just to go back to something you said, like obviously we're kind of a different breed from most movie watchers, because we have to watch movies to train for matches. It's like how much of when you decide to sit down and watch a movie, how much is it that, I just want to watch this to be entertained, or how much is like, okay, I know Full Metal's going to ask a question about this coming up soon, just because of knowing them, I have to get the info in my head?
Well, for the most part, I'll just watch movies just that I feel like watching. But when I do have a match coming up, if somebody has a strength listed, or when they give us the list of Full Metal movies, for instance, if I haven't seen something recently, I will sit and watch it and study it, like to the point where I'm like actually taking notes as I watch it. I'm like, oh, that sounds like a question. That sounds like a question, kind of thing. Well, which is actually why when, I don't know, a month or so ago, I think I had my last match that I know of for the year. I think when I got knocked out of the singles tournament, I was actually very much relieved, because I'm like, you know what? I had a lot of matches in a row for a while there, and I'm like, well, now I can just watch movies that I want to watch instead of movies that I have to watch to study for. And so it's kind of like I like, because I am competitive, and so if I have something coming up, then I do want to study a movie, but I don't necessarily want to watch that movie, but I have to study for it.
Yeah, and also we're not going to get into it, but obviously both being writers, like we have to a whole different level of it. But you should watch MBE, because something about that might be coming up soon.
There's a
Random
plug.
plugs. All right. So now moving into your 4.5 stars. Like, obviously, you got some of the big names. There's one here that I love you for because I have it on the side. And I'm just pulling them up out as well as the list that I've got. I love you for reminding me that When in Rome exists.
I can win it on 4.5 stars.
4.5 stars.
Was that a mistake?
It probably is. No, odds are. Oh, it's wait. No, wait. What the? That's weird. Letterboxd is lying to me because I go into it, and then now it shows me it's 1.5.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened if something got misclicked or whatever, but yeah, that should be 1.5 star.
Yeah, okay, that.
So I love Kristen Bell, and actually I love most of the people in that movie, but I think as my review starts out, Kristen Bell deserves so much better than this.
That makes more sense.
So I'm sorry to pop your bubble, but I did not love When in Rome as much as I wanted to.
I went to see that on a date. So that movie always has a bit of love in my heart. All right, so
and that kind of thing does color your opinions of movies. It's like when you saw it, how you saw it, who you saw it with.
So the next one that you had as 4.5 star, The Room. Oh wait, no, this letterbox is really shitting the bed now. To be serious for a second, for the first time in my life, mentioned this one earlier, Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber, yes.
Like
Dumb and Dumber is an example of one that pleasantly surprised me. That was when I was that was one of those when I was friends with the guys at the movie theater and we watched movies early and things like that. And I remember that came out the same week as some other major film. I don't know if it's Forrest Gump or something like that. And they're like, hey, we got these 2 or 3 movies we got to put together and watch tonight and make sure the prints are okay for Friday. And I'm like, okay, can we watch this one? Like, well, no, we're going to watch this one first. If you want to watch this one, you got to watch Dumb and Dumber first. And at the time, I was like, because I like Jim Carrey, like on In Living Color on the TV show he did. I really enjoyed him on that. Ace Ventura movies, were too over the top and too just not my style of comedy. It was just, it annoyed me. The Mask was okay. I think there was another one in there. I'm not sure. But there's just a string of movies of his that came out, and I was sick of him, and I didn't find him all that funny. So I'm like, fine, I'll watch Dumb and Dumber, whatever. And I watched that movie and just laughed my ass off from beginning to end. I mean, I just thought that was one of the funniest movies of all time. And even since then, I've rewatched it so many times. And yes, it's stupid humor, but it does stupid humor right, and it does it so well that I love it.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I've never been a fan of Carrie, but that's personal.
Oh, I can totally appreciate that. I mean, I'm not a fan of Carrie in most movies, but I like some of his movies, and I love a couple of his movies, but I can also see ones where he's obnoxious, and I can see how someone wouldn't like him.
However, Mr. Popper's Penguin, #1.
Actually, I've not seen that one.
It's so good. For a children's film, it's grand. Like I used to put it on with the kids when I was working. Like they just watch penguins watching Chaplin, and it's great. All right, so the last 4.5 star one, just because I want to get onto the 5 stars before I have to lose you. She's Out of My League, 2010, the Jay Baruchel and Alice E film. So this is a romantic comedy that really spins it on its head. So like you do have a few romantic comedies potted around, but it's not like, but obviously like your action, your adventure stuff is a lot more prevalent in yours lists. So what is it about that film that you really enjoyed?
It's just it was something that was kind of original. And I liked the cast. I mean, it had Jay Baruchel and T.J. Miller was in that, and I don't remember all the rest of the cast, but there was just something about the way it was written and the way it was acted. I thought it was, while it still had those heartfelt romantic moments, things like that. I think this one was primarily a comedy before the romance. And again, just the comedy, and it just worked for me. And I enjoyed it, and I've rewatched it several times since then. I still enjoy it every bit as much.
Yeah, it's certainly one of those that just like it slides in for like one of the best like movies that no one remembers of the decade.
Oh yeah, very few people I've talked to have seen it. Yeah.
All right. Speaking of movies that no one's ever really seen, we're going to move on to 5 star, and we're going to talk about the one that I think if anyone that looks at your list, they see. So I'm just going to read this part of your review. It's easily my favorite film of everyone involved, and yes, that includes Sylvester Stallone and director John Landis. The whole large cast is wonderful, and every one of them perfectly suited for their roles, with not a weak link in the bunch. The writing perfect, the direction perfect, the music perfect.
Yes.
So, Oscar.
Oscar.
Like, but
Okay.
the only
So
two people, I'm just gonna say, the only two people that are on Letterboxd that I've got this review is yourself and Kurt Kalikowski. You at 5 stars, him at 2 stars. And if no one else has touched this film, so what is it about this film that you love so much?
I maybe it's because I've been kind of into theater as well, kind of all my life. Because this one, it feels very much like a play. I mean, this is a farce, which is a really kind of a brand of comedy that you don't see a lot in films. It's more something that's relegated to stage plays, and this one is absolutely goes full force into farcical comedy. And so I think that's actually what throws a lot of people off, is because they aren't expecting this; they're expecting a more traditional comedy.
Yeah.
And yes, seeing Sylvester Stallone in it, you're like, and then especially at the time, people are like, really, this is what he's doing. I mean, this always gets lumped in with Stop or My Mom Will Shoot in the comedy section of his career. But this one, I mean, if people, well, I was not Kirk and a lot of people, but I think people underappreciate how well everything does in this movie. I mean, the acting performances across the board are great by everyone involved. And then I think just the writing and the pacing and the directing of it, I think to pull something like this off, where it's just constantly moving, there's so many characters, and it's hard to pull off, but they did it, I thought, perfectly. And this is one of those that people will criticize me for giving it 5 stars, and I totally understand that. But I every time I watch this movie, this is definitely a feel-good movie for me. I'll pop this movie in, and I will just enjoy it beginning to end.
Excellent. So is this like the movie that you would recommend to most, like, to anyone that does like cinema, like, try this out? Like, it might not be a cup of tea, but at least it's going to be something different.
Right. Yeah, I would definitely recommend it to people. And I will tell them that too. I'm like, you might not love it as much as I do, but if you're looking for a movie you haven't seen that I think people will enjoy, I would point them to this one.
Nice. I will try and find a copy of it somewhere. All right, and then the next
I'm
one
actually trying to track down. There's originally I think it's a French film. Actually, it's based on. But so I'm actually been trying to track that one down, but I can't find it.
Excellent. All right. The next one that I want to talk about, this kind of comes in something that I know about you. It's about 2012, So Much Ado About Nothing. Because you were on Rankum, I think it was, for
one of those. Yeah, I think it was
Shakespearean. Like, what is it about Shakespeare's movies and stuff, Shakespeare in general, that you really enjoy?
I don't know. Maybe part of it's the theater thing again. Just because I really like plays, but Shakespeare, for some reason, I've just really enjoyed, especially a lot of the modern adaptations. Like, if you try and show me like a lot of the old kind of really stuffy, faithful adaptations of his work, like the Laurence Olivier stuff, I'll appreciate it on some level, but for some reason I just can't really get into those. But when you get to the modern versions, whether it be Much Ado or Romeo and Juliet or I'm blanking out on some of these, some of the modern Hamlets, things like that. I really enjoyed them. I mean, Shakespeare stood the test of time for a reason, because I mean his stories have kind of become real archetypes for what a lot of movies are based on. I mean, Romeo and Juliet has been done 1,000 different ways, whether they say it's an adaptation of it or not. The whole forbidden love kind of thing. Hamlet's been done 1,000 ways, whether it be The Lion King or Strange Brew or 100 other adaptations. And I think they find new ways to adapt these classic stories, and it just works.
He did all right for himself, Bill Shakespeare. I need to watch that one. I think it came out like 2 years ago. It's about the idea that Shakespeare was a hack and just stole from other people. Was Kenneth Branagh maybe in it? I can't. I heard it was good. But like, this is all like discredited bollocks. That it's like one person claimed like 20 years after his death. But the movie.
Well, I know there was the movie Anonymous with Rhys Ifans, who.
That might be it.
That was it. And then I think Branagh just played Shakespeare in a recent movie called All Is True, but I don't think that was about that.
Fair. As someone that was born over here, like Shakespeare, I normally just switch off my head because it's just like I got beaten to death with it. Did you ever watch the Al Pacino version of Merchant of Venice?
I think I did see that, because one of the things when I worked at the video stores, we used to get what they call these screener copies. We get like these advanced copies of all the videos like before they came out for rental or sale. They're basically trying to pitch to your store, like, here, watch this, and then you're going to want to order 20 copies for your store. Of course, mine was a chain, so I had no ordering power, but they still sent us the screener copies. So I remember getting that one, and so that's one way I checked out a lot of movies that I otherwise would not have, because I'm like, hey, it's free, it costs me nothing to watch this movie. And But honestly, I don't really remember anything about it. I know I've seen it, but
all it is about just like I remember watching it at school, and it was like the week after I watched Scarface for the first time. So it was Scarface and the numpty from the sitcom of Called My Family, like doing Shakespeare. It was like, this is so weird.
Yeah,
it was like my brain
because it wasn't a movie. If I remember it wasn't a documentary. It was kind of a mix.
Yeah, it was more like it was just like a straight true Shakespearean adaptation. They didn't change any of the script, and they shot it in Venice. It was weird. And so just seeing Al Pacino just try and avoid the line of looking too anti-Semitic as well.
Al Pacino's one of those actors too who he's whereas Jim Carrey on the comedy side can go so over the top, Al Pacino goes so over the top on a lot of his dramatic performances. I mean, there are movies I like him in, but you get to things like Scarface. I cannot stand Scarface. He's playing a caricature, which maybe that's what he was going for, but that just takes me out of the movie completely.
Yeah, Scarface is a movie that was like 13-year-old me and 23-year-old me had two different experiences with. Because like when as a kid I was like, yeah, look at all the guns and shooting. Scarface is cool. Like I even had a poster, and then it's just like 23 was just like, dear God, this is just crap.
Yeah, I remember it was kind of during that same period when I worked at the store. They'd have like all the Scarface T-shirts and that people were buying, and I'm just sitting there going, really? This is like some kind of icon now, but luckily that mostly died out.
This is the movie that you want to represent yourself on your body at all times. Great, right. Good plan. All right, and the last movie I want to talk about is probably, especially in the communities that I know, it's one of the most like Marmite movies in terms of especially musicals. 2001's Moulin Rouge.
Yes.
Like, it's one of those movies where I don't think anyone in the history of the universe has ever given it 2 or 3 stars. It's either a 4 or 5 star or it's the worst film ever made.
Yeah, I've discussed this before on like I think it was on Your List Sucks or something. But Moulin Rouge is the very definition of a love it or hate it movie, because 5 minutes into that movie if you are going to like it or not. My father tried to watch Moulin Rouge, and he called me up and says, "What the hell is this piece of shit?" And he turned it off. And because I told him, I'm like, if you didn't like the first 5, 10, 15 minutes, you're not going to like the rest of the movie. I mean, it does calm down a little bit as it gets into the movie because from that opening, but that gives you. I actually very smart of him to just tell you up front, this is what it is. But like you said, I mean, there are people who love it and there are people who hate it. And I totally respect people who hate it. I totally understand why they would hate it. But personally, I'm firmly on the love it side. And part of that's just, I love musicals. Part of it's, I love the cast. Part of it, I love the style Baz Luhrmann gives to it. I wish he'd go back to doing more movies like that, because he kind of toned down and started doing more straightforward movies like, Australia and things like that. Whereas I preferred him when he was doing Romeo and Juliet and Moulin Rouge.
He's one of those people that just got after like Romeo and Juliet and Moulin Rouge, just like, yeah, here we're going to take your color palette away, but here's a lot of money instead.
Yeah, because like I said, he did Australia, and then he went and did The Great Gatsby, which I thought, well, maybe they can put some of his flair back in there, but no, that was pretty much a straightforward movie. And now he's doing some kind of Elvis biopic, which I don't see him doing much with that. So it's disappointing. I mean, he still makes good movies, but I don't love him the way I did when he was really expressing himself and doing his own thing. And I've seen that with too many directors. I mean, even my favorite directors like Steven Spielberg. I mean, part of it's just, they get older and they change, and the way they want to express themselves change, and that's fine. That's their right. But I definitely enjoy a director like Spielberg back when he was doing more of his blockbuster kind of thing, and now he wants to do more serious, artsy, Oscar caliber films, and it's just like, I liked you better back then.
Yeah. Well, it feels like just like the hands of time just are weighing on them, and just like, oh, yeah, I should probably fill out that cabinet full of Oscars a bit more.
Right. Or you get somebody like James Cameron, who spent 10, 20 years making some great films, and then just stopped to spend so far 20 years, and it'll be 30 by the time he's done, doing nothing but Avatar. And he's basically wasted the second half of his career doing nothing but Avatar, which is a movie that most people don't want to see sequels to.
No.
Yeah, I mean, the first one only made money. Well, I think it was actually a decent movie, but I think that the only reason it made as much as it did was as a technical curiosity as the first like 3D blockbuster action movie, and people went and saw this, and it was something new. But I don't think anybody was clamoring for a sequel. But I wish James Cameron would go back to making other movies because he made some great ones for 10 years.
Yeah, he had that 20-year period of just like anything he touched was gold, and now it's just like, okay, yep, go play with your Smurfs now.
Right.
Which is a shame. But to be fair, I'm kind of shocked they didn't just come out and just like make a massive movie just out of spite because he lost Best Director to his ex-wife. Like,
maybe
there's part of me that was just like, when I saw that, I was literally like, I'm gonna put money in the next 3 years. He just makes like one of the greatest films of all time, just because of just like, screw you, I want my Oscar back.
I think at some point also, it might just be like, you know what, whatever, I have Oscars. Let's just bathe myself in money now.
All right, so just so that hey, when your family comes, so I'm gonna wrap up. Was there any movies that in particular that you wanted to speak about that we didn't touch? Like, I know we didn't really get around to Star Wars, but that I think everyone's
no. Well, I mean, that's kind of a standard answer with people who like kind of their first movies they fell in love with. Just at least from my age group, the Star Wars movies kind of kicked off in love. Nothing else really jumps out at me that I need to talk about. Like I said, I've tended to love a lot of. I have very eclectic tastes because you'll see a lot of action blockbusters and sci-fi and comic book movies and things like that. But then you'll see 5 stars also given to La La Land and Annie and musicals like that. And it's just I have very different tastes, and I'm actually kind of proud of that. I think more people should open themselves up to more things. And like I've said, when I started watching more like foreign cinema, and I realized that there's a lot out there I enjoy. Now there's a lot of that aren't good, but you got to kind of dig through them and get recommendations from people. And
I just try and figure out like your own taste rather than just like, oh yeah, I'm going to stick to this one particular type of brand.
Right.
Yeah. Sadly, we didn't touch what was a 5-star film that you had. Now it's a 4.5-star. 300: Rise of an Empire.
Did I have that 5?
Yep. Yeah. Because I have it as a 5-star back when I first made this list. Now I've noticed it's gone down to 4.5.
I'm not aware that I changed it. I'll just be brief on that one. Is that one is one that surprised me because it was like a sequel without Gerard Butler with a different director. People thought it wouldn't be anything, but it just really impressed me and exceeded my expectations because I thought it was as good as, if not better than the first one. And what I really loved about that one is it was a story that takes place alongside the first one. So they kind of intertwine, and it kind of informs you more as to what's going on elsewhere. And there are scenes that overlap and things like that. And I really liked the way they did that. But that was one that maybe I gave an extra, but now I don't think I ever would have meant to put it at 5. If I did, that was a mistake. But that's one that maybe I've given an extra bump just because the opposite of some of the other ones where I had low expectations and this one exceeded it. So.
Nice. And also all the abs as well.
The what?
The abs. The abs on the show.
The abs. And the greatest hate fucking scene in cinema. That's
I'm not gonna make the joke in my head. I'm not making that joke.
Probably for the best.
Yeah, I'm learning. So thank you very much for coming on. Is there anything that you want to plug or anything like that?
No, people here know where to find me. So, just keep watching what you're watching. Keep watching Tony's channel. I might be doing some things there pretty soon. We'll see.
Yeah. Yep. And also, just in case anyone wants to look at it, it's letterboxd.com/cinemaphile. Spelled PHILE, not any other type of way, weirdos. And yep, thank you very much, everyone watching. Just as a quick rundown, what's happening rest of the week, NBA here wise. We are Friday NBA. We are doing the draft for the greatest movies of the decade. So if anyone just want to get involved in that, send us a link, send us a message, and we'll see who's available and what. Next week, this spot is open. So if anyone just want to pop on, send me a message as well. We'll see who's available. And a week after is going to be when what was recorded yesterday. No, Saturday. Dear God, I've done way too much recording. Kurt Kalikowski is going to be in 2 weeks' time, and then Jake Maragoni the week after. And yep, and also as well, MBE, we are doing for Christmas, we are doing the top 100 list, favorite movies of all time in the whole communities. So the deadline for that is December 11th. We've got about 25 listing already, but I want more because I don't want to have to deal with ties. So please send us lists. And yeah, that's everything I need to plug. So thank you everyone for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
No, that's not.
That's Caleb's thing. Sorry.